At the age of 19, 20, I was diagnosed with heart disease.
Oh.
I've been through the whole surgery. I've had multiple procedures and was told that I wasn't going to make it.
Oh my God.
So in the midst of being told I wasn't going to make it, I was also being told, oh no, you can't work, you can't do much, you just have to be a vegetable at home. And I told myself that's not going to happen. I have kids, I have to believe and have faith that exactly that things are going to work out.
I got 99.9 problems. This is where we sit down and talk about it. 99.9 problems. And we ain't scared to talk about them. We got 99.9. Yeah, 99.9. Yeah, 99.9. Yeah, 99.9. I got 99.9 problems. This is where we sit down and talk.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the 99.9 Problems podcast. For all our subscribers, thank you so much for subscribing. And to anyone who's watching this for the first time, please go ahead and subscribe because we are a channel, we are a podcast because you exist. Without you, we cannot grow this community and this podcast right here. The first lady I'm going to introduce here today is a lady who was magnificent. She's been a powerhouse to getting this thing going and getting this amazing platform to be what it is. She's a social worker and a model, as you all already know. You guys can follow her on her Instagram at Dreda Makita or Ethel. The next guest is our guest for today. She's a phenomenal lady. She is spectacular. She is a mother. She is a teacher. And again, another social worker, right? Oh, we got a lot of social workers in the house.
Yes.
A lot of people doing social workers. Guys, she is a force to reckon with. I could say she's a model as well. And she actually has her own podcast called Faith Uncensored. You can follow her on Instagram as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Laura Tanto to the show.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for gracing our show today.
No,
Thank you so much for making it
for the
possible
invite.
despite the bad and horrible weather.
Yes.
You were able to make it here. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you.
I am
Let's have a
glad to
toast.
be here.
Wow. Once more, welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
Happy to meet you today. We had a very great conversation behind the camera.
We sure did. We sure did.
And I see you have a lot on your plate. You are a teacher, you're a social worker, and an entrepreneur. That's a lot.
And a mother.
Yes.
That's a lot of work.
That is a lot.
How was the journey when you first decided to venture into all this?
Oh my, I feel like life has taught me to be patient.
Yeah.
I had my twin boys when I was fairly young. I believe I was
goodness.
about
You got twins.
19, 20 years old.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So yes, I'm a mani myself.
That's really nice.
So I had the twin boys when I was fairly young. That was my motivation to keep going. At one point, I was selling hair, I was selling clothes, and these was all ventures that I had in my 20s, early 20s, and I was still going to school. I graduated shortly after with my degree in teaching as well as in criminal justice. So I venture off the teaching background. I did that for a few years, became a EL coordinator at one of the schools that I was at. Truly loved it. Shortly after, I got hired as a supervisor for a housing stabilization through the county. I did that for a few years, grant funded, the money ran out, but I had something else to fall back on. I had social work to fall back on. So within my years of teaching and being a supervisor, I went to school to get my MSW. So got my MSW, decided that I want to become a social worker, so that is what I'm doing right now.
Wow. That's a
That's
lot.
amazing.
Like, I understand how difficult it is being a social worker, because sometimes you come back home and you're like, I I just want to quit.
Yes, it is hard.
She told me there was a time she quit before.
I thought about it multiple times. I think my coworkers and I pretty much call ourselves trauma bonded.
Yeah.
We are bonded by the trauma that we go through at work.
Yep.
And because of that, we get along so well. One thing that we do so good on our everyday work day is the fact that if something is bothering us, we come together in one of the offices and we just talk about it.
Wow.
Let it out before you go home. I have 3 boys at home, and we just need to let that frustration out and then go home and start clean.
So how do
or
you let the
start
frustration
new.
out?
We should talk about it.
Wow.
You know, as social workers, we are always telling our clients, do you need to talk to a therapist? Do you need a counselor?
But you don't think about yourself.
You don't think about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've gotten so used to doing, is to making sure that I am reaching out to a therapist. I do have a therapist involved, and I check in with them once a week. And with our culture,
Exactly.
that is seen as taboo.
I don't.
He said he does not believe in depression.
And it's the same.
Nah.
Everywhere I go,
I
no
don't
one
believe in
believes
having
in
a
it.
therapist.
But see, well, why don't you?
I mean, I don't know.
Nah.
I mean, we come from a strong background, a resilient, African background, so.
True.
I mean, of course, as ladies and men is different. We don't actually have the same approach. Or,
Well, it doesn't
But
matter.
Yeah, so-
you guys
sometimes.
need to be
I mean,
okay with the
yeah.
notion of talking to
So,
someone.
Yeah.
Because
that's right.
I would say, before you get married, do talk to a marriage counselor. But even with that, if marriage is not going well, or if you just have someone that passed away, reach out and talk to someone.
if it's the marriage counseling, I believe in that
Yes.
because it solves a lot of problems.
Yeah.
But
Oh, see-
but every other thing, counseling, therapist, I don't believe in it. Because guess what?
If marriage counseling can solve problems,
Yeah.
what do you think counseling on the regular basis can solve?
Of course, it
It's not
definitely
different,
can.
right?
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
not
It's all the same.
it can, but I mean, for us, I believe men should be strong enough to sort things out, to actually talk to their partners.
That's why sometimes
you
men
know.
end up unaliving themselves.
Yeah, they kill
because
themselves. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, they
because
keep
we
a lot of things
we tend to
inside.
keep a lot of things in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's okay. Men cry. I think I teach the
it's-
boys to be strong men,
Yeah.
but we also teach them to say it's okay to just
let the emotions out.
yeah.
Yeah.
let it out.
Wow.
I think for me, I saw my dad passed away about 5 years ago, so I saw myself going into this whole depression mood. Not only that, I saw the boys also having a hard time dealing because I wasn't being for me, I didn't think I was being a great mother because I was suffering through grieving, and I saw them crying because that was their best friend, and I had to let them know that it is okay to cry. Men cry.
Yeah, it definitely
And it's
struck me
okay to talk to someone as well,
tough.
but
I think boys cried, not men.
I'm not
Right?
going to get into this with
I
you.
think boys cry, not men.
I did not.
As a man, you shouldn't cry. As a boy, you should.
As a man, definitely cry.
Yeah.
Please do.
Well,
let it out.
Even
Depending on what you're going through.
You can do it behind closed doors. It's
Yes.
still,
Oh,
yeah.
it's still
I mean,
something.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knowing all what you do, right? How do you create time to be a mom and a wife at the same time? Because America can
man.
be so busy.
Time management. Time management is one of my big things, especially being a teacher.
Yeah.
You get used to, okay, I'm teaching this class for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You have a 5 or 10 minute break, then you start and teach another class. So you just get used to the time management. But, recently I have been struggling as well because, yes, we have time for the kids.
Yeah.
We have soccer.
So
we have basketball.
what age group of kids do you usually teach?
I went from second grade teacher all the way to high school.
school,
So
okay.
the last group of kids that I thought were high schoolers,
Okay.
and I truly loved it.
Yeah.
And then I became an EL
Yeah.
coordinator. Shortly after that. So it wasn't more so direct with the kids, but more with the teachers as
Yeah.
well. I loved it, but it's all about letting your kids know that you have to be patient with me and being patient with them too. You know, we bounce from basketball, soccer, from school. I'm dropping, I'm picking. If I'm not dropping and picking, dad is dropping and picking them up, especially us working in the same city, just a few minutes away, talking to him. You know, when it comes to just being a mother, you're a mother no matter what. That's something that you can't change. I feel like the minute you give birth, there something comes upon you. There's this grace of mothership that comes upon you, where it's just like, okay, what I'm doing right now is for the kids. It has nothing to do with me. So you put yourself out there. You know, before I came here, we had a basketball tournament. So I was in Osseo at 7:30 this morning for basketball tournament, and they had 3 games. So dropped them off at home and got ready and came right away.
And you always have to be there because
you always have to be there because I mean, the parents that are not there, the kids can see it. The kids can see it,
and they grow up with that
notion that the parents were never there to support. You know, especially when it's an activity that the kids love. You want to be there to encourage them. The boys lost their games, but there was one grandpa that came up to us and said, your kids are very athletic. They were already in the midst of crying, but the minute this man came up and said, they're really athletic, and he's like, really? I'm like, yes, you are. Do I not say it enough? But it's different when somebody else say it, you know? But again, when it comes to just being a wife, it is easy to be a wife. Why? Because you have this amazing man that will prepare meals for you. So when the kids and I are coming back from school and work, food is already on the table for us. And he owns his own business, so he's at home doing what he needs to do in the office. He actually can cook, huh? He can cook. He can clean.
Can you cook?
So what about, so easy.
So what about the guys that can cook like me?
Can you cook?
It's gonna be hard, you know. The one thing is, don't expect the wife to do everything.
But I can still be able to support in other areas. A lot of other areas do a lot of other things, you know.
Exactly.
Like cleaning up the kids, changing them up.
That really goes a long way. That goes a long way. So, you know, I get home, 90% of the time food is already on the table, or if it's not, he's just waiting for me to start. The minute I get done cooking, he's in the kitchen cleaning, and he's setting up the table with the boys to make sure that we all sit down and have that family meal. We try to make sure that we are eating together as a family. I mean, that's something that we as African don't really do as much, especially with special moment. It is. You know, you get to ask them, how are your day? What did you guys do? What courses did you guys take at school? And plan for the week or plan for the weekend. Again, that's where the whole time management come in place. Mom, we have soccer on Tuesday and Thursday, but we also have basketball on Monday and Wednesday. So you just kind of write it down or mentally program it in your head that, okay, what time is soccer? Are we driving far away, or are we just driving 10 minutes away from the house? We just get things like that going. And then homework, we split up, you know. If he's not here because he's out on a business trip, the kids have their iPads. They're calling him, especially when he knows I'm tired. Let your mom sleep.
That's right.
I'm upstairs sleeping. The kids are either downstairs or in the loft just doing their homework with him. And it goes a long way, you know. Again, marriage is not just mom doing every single thing, household duties and going to work and taking care of the kids, but more so a partnership between two people.
The partnership is very important.
That's really great, because like it's really good to have a very supportive partner.
That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing. And if you don't, all hell will break loose and it just goes down. So.
And I know you have a podcast coming up. Called Faith
Uncensored.
So what inspired you to start that podcast?
Oh man, so many things. What no one knows about me, what you guys don't know, is the fact that at the age of 1920, I was diagnosed with heart disease. I've been through the whole surgery. I've had multiple procedures and was told that I wasn't going to make it.
Oh my goodness.
So in the midst of being told I wasn't going to make it, I was also being told, oh no, you can't work, you can't do much, you just have to be a vegetable at home. And I told myself that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
I have kids, I have to believe and have faith that exactly that things are going to work out. At that moment, I started growing my faith in God and just started reading a lot more. I feel like in life, we all have testimonies. We all go through things.
True.
We all go through things in life. And despite what way we choose, you know, we can choose to go the left or the right. Given that one is good, one is bad, I chose the right. I went with, you know what, I'm still going to sacrifice because at the end of the day, I want my kids to have a good life. And that's what happened. I still am diagnosed with heart disease. I am diagnosed with lupus and a few other things, but I don't let that get to me. Though I'm diagnosed with those things, it's more of like, I know I can still be fine with all of these. I know God got me. I know, and I have faith that things are going to work out for the better. I don't trust mankind, but more so listen to them and take everything for granted. I don't take anything for granted, but more so just take it in and say, okay, you don't have the last say. I understand that you said I wasn't going to make it. It's been 11 years, you know, since I was told that I was going to die. And I'm still here.
Alive. Alive and strong.
Here, exactly.
It's really
so I just feel like we all have
when you said
story.
that, my heart dropped, you know, because I've seen a lot of people. I've actually lost 2 friends to cancer.
Wow.
And that's because they were told that they're going to have it, that they were told that they don't have long to live. So I just kind of imagine how your mind is going to like play against your body to let you know, hey, this can't work. Like your mind just lets you give up.
It does.
How was it important to like stay strong mentally?
It was the faith that I had. I think the fact that I grew up in a very religious household made it easier for me just to maneuver with hardship, right? I always had faith that God was going to make it through. If God was able to give me twins at a very young age, he would not let me leave my kids without me spending time with them and without them having a good life, you know? It was a lot. You know, we go back to the therapy piece. I definitely was talking to a therapist. And a lot of people didn't know that because you don't even feel comfortable sharing that with anyone in our community or in our society because they just look at it as taboo. So it was really hard, but I used to talk to a therapist and I had to clear my mind. And the good thing about it is the therapist that I wanted and I got was faith-based. So not only were you sitting there giving me just amazing reason for why I'm still here and just giving me great feedback, but we're also connecting it to the Bible. We're also reading verses together.
Making sure you put God in the midst of it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. When you put God at the midst of you drowning, things become better, you know? And I keep going back to the faith piece. Having faith in God has such an amazing way of things working out for the greater good.
Damn. Wow. I mean,
I'm speechless.
Of course I am. I'm really speechless. I mean, it's really fate.
Yes.
That made us to like get in touch, to bring you here, because this message out there is gonna inspire a lot of people, a lot of our viewers out there. They're gonna be able to know the importance of putting God first. You know, of making sure that they put God in everything they do. Because there's a lot of people who, if, for example, if they told them that they have the heart disease,
they're dead.
They were going to die because it's going to play with your mind.
Exactly.
Be it as it may, do you think that actually in the United States or anywhere in general, do you think actually going to church as human beings actually makes us religious?
Does and it doesn't, right? You can go to church and just be a vegetable and not listen to anything that comes in. But you can also go to church and you're taking note and you're actively listening to what the pastor has to preach, or the pastor, whatever the pastor is preaching, and then you take that into your own life. You have to align whatever the preaching is with your life and see where you guys can come together and say, okay, let me live how God lived, or let me live so I can do good to others, you know? And I think it goes a long way, because a lot of people nowadays do go to church, but when you see what they do afterwards,
they go to church, but
questionable.
the church is not going through them.
True.
Exactly. I had, you
Yeah.
know, and within the past few years, you know, ever since my dad passed away, I had a prayer where it was just like, God, the fact that you took my dad at the age of 62, I want to live for you. Please take away any person or thing that is not for me.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, a lot of people that I knew started moving away from me.
Yep.
And not a moment did I shed tears, because I knew what I had already had, the conversation I had with God already.
Yeah.
But it really does go a long way when you have that faith, and then when you are actually applying that Bible study, that preaching into your own life, your life will definitely change.
So
Yeah.
do people usually just go to church sometimes when they need a breakthrough in their life? Because I know. Okay, for example, I've been actually going to my church for a couple of years now, right? And this. Okay, guess what? New Year's Eve.
Everybody. Yes. New Year resolution.
New Year's Eve.
Yes, new me.
The church is so full of people you've never seen before. And guess what? The next Sunday, you don't see no one.
is there.
Yeah.
So,
They wait till Easter.
Yeah, so why do you think that is?
I think some people just have the notion that you don't have to go to church in order to
Be a good
to be a
Christian.
good
Good
Christian.
Christian,
Exactly.
exactly.
But the Bible
And of course it's
does
true.
says whenever two or more are,
Are
are gathered.
They're just
Yep.
gonna say, okay, I'll sit with my brother, or
And those are
this
some
is
of
a
the
church.
yes, and those are some of the conversation that I choose not to even have or entertain, because
Yeah.
during COVID, we were listening to the preachings
Yeah.
through online.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, we had friends that would set up a Zoom call. All of us would be on that Zoom call, especially at 11 a.m. in the morning. And we're listening to the preaching together, and we're actually stopping it, and we're talking about it. And then we go on and listen. That took a good 2 hours. Again, most churches in the U.S.,
Yeah,
especially
1
Americanized,
hour.
is
Yeah.
1 hour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Top.
Strictly.
Yes.
They don't go above.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Not everybody's busy.
Yes.
And I actually want to think, like most churches here too, it's a job.
Yes.
They get paid for it.
Yeah, and
But
Yeah,
even back
so-
home.
yeah, so-
but it's still very difficult for people to go to church.
In the United States?
Yeah, in the United States.
I
Because
think-
I know in Africa, let me just say Cameroon, people go to church every
Sunday.
Yes.
Even
if you don't go to church, your
our
mom,
parents
your
and
mom is gonna preach.
our parents
Yeah.
and grandparents actually used to go every morning.
Yeah. But-
And that's what it is, right? Where here, bills gotta get paid.
True.
Exactly.
Bills got to get paid. And you look for organizations or restaurants like Chick-fil-A, they're off on Sundays.
Yeah.
They're religious based.
Wow.
Why? Because they want their staff and themselves to be able to say, okay, I need to go in to church. Those are some of the things that organization and businesses needs to start put forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, yes, I understand that we're off on, like us working as social workers, we're off on Saturday and Sunday. We prioritize going to church on Sundays, right? But there's some businesses and some jobs
Group
that do
homes.
not prioritize
Yeah.
having that Sunday
And
off.
you have to work to pay the bills.
You have to
Yeah.
work to pay the bills. Where back home, when you buy your land and build your house, that's yours.
You
So-
can live in your parents'
so-
house forever.
Actually, do you
Exactly.
think that actually limits the faith or the connection between the population in the United States with God, because they don't actually go to church that often, given the jobs they do on the weekends?
I do believe that.
Yeah.
And I go more so, a few days ago, I was listening to another person. It wasn't a podcast, but it was just a video that this girl had uploaded on social media. She is African American, but dad is Ghanaian, mom is American.
Yeah.
She said, when it comes to religion and Christianity, dad is more intact with the spiritual realm than mom is. She said there's something about being an African where we put God first.
Yeah.
And we read the Bible in order to understand, to comprehend all these things. And we understand to a different level. She said as far as her mom can read the Bible and just give you a watered down summary, where dad is going to go deeper inside and start connecting different verses. Mom just stays with one verse and say, okay, this is what happened. Genesis 1, God created the world.
Do you think, okay, just to follow up to what you're saying, right? Do you
Yes.
think that most couples, relationships or marriages, do you think that if the woman is not that religious, it could be a problem?
Yes, I do. I think it's based on what I've seen so far. I feel like women are the ones that pretty much drag the husbands to church or drag them to occasions that they don't want to be gathering. So if the woman is not intact with her faith, with Christianity, it is really hard for that family or for that couple to really make it. I've seen it in so many aspects where the women are the ones that are like, nope, husband, we gotta go to church. And the husbands are like, you don't have to go to church in order to believe God.
Yeah.
I understand that. But when we are at church and we meet other Christian couples, we align ourselves with others as well. It really does go a long way to how we treat each other and how we treat others outside of church as well. So if you're aligning yourself with Christian friends, best believe you're doing the practices that God wants us to do in the Bible. But if you're aligning yourself with friends that are non-Christian or has no faith base, then just know you'll be doing things that are not what God is calling us to do on earth. So it really does go a long way when it comes to those two.
So talking about church and family, I see in our community a lot of women and men respect and honor their pastors and bosses way more than how they would respect their partners at home. What do you think about
That's true.
That's kind of things that happen?
That's a good one.
I have so many opinions about that, even prior to marriage and even after marriage. I my husband and I talk about it all the time, especially with the African churches. It seems like we worship the pastor more than we worship God.
Exactly.
And I keep telling people that it's one thing to go to church, right? But it's another thing to sit there and bowing down to the pastor and kissing his feet or any of that. I see it so much where we're worshiping the leaders more than God himself. And I keep saying, what if God comes today?
Or more than your husband as well.
More than your husband.
I've seen a video where a pastor had visited this lady, and then she treated the pastor so well that the husband was like...
Yeah, and then sometimes they go clean the pastor's house every single day, cook food, but they cannot cook food for their families.
I think that is ridiculous. I'm sorry. We hold the title too high. Yes, we should, right? We should respect them, but don't start worshiping them.
That's
we should not be worshiping man. And speaking of videos, I saw a video just last year of this couple that were getting married. They are at their reception.
I saw that.
And it was a pastor slash singer that came in. The lady fell to the ground.
She fell to the knees.
I think she's a celebrity.
Yeah.
She fell to the ground. Baba, thank you. No.
People roasted her online.
If you can't do that to your husband, to who you have a covenant with, then why are you doing it to on your wedding day in front of everyone to see? I just feel like we need to take a step back and pretty much reconsider what we do when we have the man of God in our presence. It's one thing, like I said, to respect them and give them that honor that, hey, you are a prophet, you're a man of God. But it's another thing to start kneeling down and kissing their feet and just going to their houses and cleaning up their houses, you know. I think it's too much.
I just feel like we are, like, most of us are derailing from the main purpose.
Yes.
Because the focus is supposed to be on God, But we are putting our faith on pastors and
On
men
man.
of God.
Yes.
Sometimes you see people online say the God of my pastor. What do you mean by
Exact-
what do you mean when you
Yeah.
say the God of my pastor? Do you know what he
I've heard that
what
before,
he
and
worships?
It sounded ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes. No, and that's what I hear too, especially with social media. You know,
Yeah.
you have all these pastors going live, which is great, you know, share the word of God. But it's another thing where you're putting yourself, like, you need to pray with my God. What God are you
talking
worshiping?
about? Yeah.
What God are you talking about?
Yep.
Right? Because you can be talking about, I grew up, and I'm going to say this, but you can be talking about Mami Wata. It's ridiculous, but I don't know what
And
God
that's
you're
true.
talking
Yep.
about, you know?
You're right. You're right.
It really is.
You're right.
So you
Yeah.
have to really take a step back and say, God, is this the right preaching for me? Is this the right church for me? Is this the right person for me?
Exactly.
To be listening to your preaching. It's a lot with
So-
our society.
So, you talked about the American lady and then the Ghanaian husband.
Yes.
What's your stance on interfaith relationships or marriages? Like, for example, let's say the husband could not be that religious, but the wife is, or you
Or
know,
maybe
this
from a Pentecostal
or this one is
church and
Pentecostal and a
you're
Catholic, or
Catholic.
this one is Mormon. I've heard of
Yes.
that Mormon.
I was like,
This one is
Muslim.
Mormon, and then what do you think?
Someone has to give up their faith for the other
Other
person.
person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it doesn't happen that way, from what I have, from the knowledge that I have gathered over the past few years, it doesn't work out.
True.
Because you will always have to be calling on your Bible, or
Yeah.
you be calling on your faith. Like, no, Muhammad said this, and it's
Yeah.
like, no, God, Jesus
a
said
lot of it is
this,
contradictory.
Abraham said this,
Yeah.
and it's just like, no, before you even get married,
Yep.
please have that conversation with each other and
Yeah.
say, and I've seen people that actually will say the woman will have to just join the faith of the man. If that's what it is and that works for both of you guys, go ahead and do it, you know. But if you're getting married and you guys have two different religions, please figure things out before you say I do.
Yeah.
Please do.
People just
And-
get carried away by the
Yes,
moment.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
it goes the same with even interracial relationships or marriage is different, you know, but when you factor in the religious part of it,
Yes.
it's important.
Yes.
And it goes the same way in the sense that, you know, for us being Cameroonian, right?
Yeah.
You want to go explain to someone why you're calling something this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You with someone, you do something, you want to explain. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, because
Yes.
I mean, not to sound racial, but I don't really like, you know.
hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
You have to have that right mindset
Yeah,
from
'cause-
the dating stage all the way to when you
yeah.
ask her or when she
Yeah.
says I do,
Yeah.
in order for you guys to keep it going.
Exactly.
For me, I was fortunate enough to marry someone from my country and from my village, so
Yeah.
there was there's no difference
Exactly.
at all.
Okay. Be it as it may, right? What can you tell our audience, and what can you tell them as far as the importance of actually putting God in your relationship is? Be it whatever race you are.
Yes, that was the first thing we talked about,
Yeah.
you know, and it was more so how our family grew up, because they grew
Yeah.
up as neighbors in
Yeah.
Cameroon, but more so they stuck together.
Exactly.
I'm not getting married to you to get a divorce.
Yeah.
But if that comes about, let's try to do it cordially, right? Especially with having society nowadays in all of our marriages.
Yeah,
and
it's just so rampant, and
you want something better, or you go online, you see that these people are living for the gram, but you are thinking that's how they live
Yeah.
every day, and you're just like, no, but I want you to be more like him.
Yeah.
You have to take a step back and ask yourself, why did you even get married? But that conversation about God needs to start from the beginning, where you
Exactly.
both agree that this is how you want to raise your kids. This is how you guys want to be as a family in order to even move on. If God is not in the midst of your house, of your home, of your family, then just know all hell can break loose at any time.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I must say, the devil is right around the corner to see if there will be any disagreement or argument in order just to slip in.
And he feeds through that.
He feeds
'Cause-
through that.
yeah, 'cause-
You all understand that there are gonna be disagreements, but
Yes.
you all have to work towards,
Yeah.
you
have
know,
to fix it up.
resolving those issues.
Exactly.
Because I actually want to think and believe a lot and actually agree with everything you're saying, because if a lot of people start putting God between their relationships or marriages, we're
Yes.
going to see a drastic reduction in the
True.
in the divorces and the broken homes we're seeing right now.
I do feel that way, to be honest with you. And you know, you grew up in a household where your parents are going to argue. Like I grew up in a household, and he did, where our parents will argue, but they will go in the room and argue.
Yeah.
Or they'll argue at night.
Hey, I can actually stress that I've never seen my parents fight or argue.
Yes.
And of course, we know it happened, right? But not just in front of us.
It's true.
I grew
yeah.
up telling people that, and they're looking at me like I was crazy. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, you never know. But now
Exactly.
that I'm married, I'm like, oh, yeah, it happened.
It happens.
It surely happened.
Yeah.
They just did it inside,
Yeah.
or they did it somewhere that the kids would
not
not
here to see.
hear.
To
Exactly.
protect the
Because
kids.
trust me, those
Exactly.
kids see. Those
They
kids
see. And when
Yeah.
kids are seen from a younger age,
yeah.
they start being that person.
Exactly.
They'll start arguing with you.
Yeah.
They'll start hitting, you know?
I got a smart one. She takes note of every little thing.
Yep.
She might be playing around. You think she's not listening, but
Yeah.
she is.
Oh, no, they are. They are.
They
Yeah.
all listen.
Yes.
They listen
and they have a
and
very
they pay attention.
retentive memory.
They do.
Yeah.
They
They never
go-
forget.
They know they don't. They will they'll recall an event that happened 2 years ago where you were mad at, and they tell me that too, right? Where they're just like, you were not happy with dad. And I'm just like, well, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well, why was I not happy? I don't know. You were not happy, but I told you that dad keeps buying you everything you need, so you should be happy. That was what he said at the age of 7 years old.
Wow.
7 years old, but like you said, their memories are always full of things that happen,
Yeah.
and they're smart.
Very
Yeah,
smart.
they are.
Kids are very,
Very smart.
smart.
Yeah.
Wow. So I was sitting the other day and thinking about something. A lot of people, especially people that say they're Christians, I know like God is against judging one another, like
Yes.
because we are humans and we are not perfect.
Exactly.
God is the only judge.
Yes.
'Cause- So, but I see a lot of Christians will preach that, but at the same time
Will
judge
judge.
other people.
What I can say to that is that we are only humans.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone, and not even I don't think there's no one on earth that is perfect.
Yeah.
It's one thing to preach saying that we shouldn't judge, but it's another thing to judge in your head or to sit there and say, oh, hubby or
Yeah.
babe, this is what was going on. Like, you guys can sit there and judge, but the minute you make it public and
Yeah.
start shaming that person,
right.
then that's where I have a problem with,
Yeah.
right? The other day, a lady came out saying the pastor made her apologize for being pregnant, and she's about 28 years old. Apologize for being pregnant without marriage. And he
wait,
did this in front of the church, the
In front of the
congregation.
congregation? She apologized in front of the
so
congregation.
Yes.
embarrassing.
That's
Wait,
you
and she
shaming that
did?
person.
Yeah.
She did.
Wow.
She did, and then shortly after she left the church, from what I gathered. But she did,
Well,
and
but-
it's just like it's one thing to judge, and it's one thing to start
We
bringing
listen-
the vibe.
we
The
listen-
verse.
we
Listen,
don't
we don't
judge.
judge. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. But it was her choice. Why did she do it? Like, walk out of the church.
You know, I think it's something. It goes back to where we put the man of God more than God
Yeah,
himself.
yeah.
Where we
Yeah.
worship the man of God more than God himself.
Yeah.
And those was just one of those things. You respect that man to a point where you are going to sit there and get in front of the congregation and say, "I'm sorry, Dad. I don't have a husband, but I was pregnant. I'm sorry." I wasn't married when I had the twins, you know.
Yep.
So did you expect me to go up to the congregation
Exactly.
and say I'm sorry?
Yep.
Things happen
Yep.
for a reason, and
Yeah.
I feel like they were my reason to why I'm here, you know. I don't think every bad thing happens for a reason. I think there's good and bad. There's good and bad people. Bad things just happens to good people sometimes. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust that God has a plan for you. And that plan is going to work out accordingly. You just have to put in the work as far as keep growing your faith, you know, keep going to church, keep meeting up and linking up with people that will pray for you. You want to have friends and family that are willing to say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a couple of days, and I just had it in my heart to call you. Like, oh, I prayed for you this day, you know. You just want to do that.
You need those kind of friends in your life.
You do.
And I had mentioned on my Snap account that I think we all need to get a degree in law, or maybe to become a judge or something, because people are really good at that.
People really judge, especially in our community, right?
In our community.
See a lot of people backbiting, hating, and talking about each other, judging, and most of the time, the things the people say are the things they're doing.
Anyways, exactly. And that's why I keep saying, in order for someone to really come out and speak ill of you, that's what they're doing.
Exactly.
That's what's going on, you know. At one point, again, let me share something really sensitive. My mom and my dad had mentioned, so having kids at a younger age and being diagnosed with heart disease, everyone thought I was dead, right? That was the message around town, that I was dead.
Wait, in town here?
Yes. That was the message 11 years ago. I was like 19, 20. That was the message that I was dead. If I remember correctly, my mom went to the farmer's market, I think it was like 1 or 2 years down the road, and met up with another Cameroonian, and that person asked, basically not even asked, was telling her how sorry she was that I had passed away.
That's crazy.
My poor mother was probably
So someone actually spread that news around town?
Yes, someone did. And it's crazy because she was
for people to do that.
You must have hated your life that much, and that's how I see it. You must hate your life that much to a point where you just sit there and start telling people or spreading lies about someone else. When I hear things, oh, he said, she said this, and I'm just like, no, stop. And that's how I've been the past 5 years. I kid you not. It's like, stop. I don't want to hear it.
Because that's how you start judging yourself. When you listen to things from other people, you're like, but I think I'm what he's saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So
you're in the group.
you're actually stressing on the fact that if anyone actually tries to gossip or like try to judge someone around you, the only way to stop these things is just to not just be part of it.
Don't
they
entertain
have to stop.
Yeah, don't
exactly,
entertain
because
it.
if you entertain, it's going to continue.
Exactly. It's going to, and those same people will come to you with more he said, she said. And again, with our community, it's big, but it tends to be small when it comes to drama.
It's really messy.
Right?
It's really messy and full of drama.
Somebody asked me, how is our community in Minnesota nowadays? I have no clue. I have given up on friends that I had and some people that I was close to because I don't want the he said, she said. I don't want the WhatsApp group where you're talking about someone and I'm sitting there like, oh, now I have to respond because
like,
these are my friends,
say?
right? or the messenger
and
groups.
maybe if
It's
they're saying
just
something
too
about
much.
them and you try to defend them, they're gonna be like, oh, you're part of it.
You're the snitch.
Or you're doing the same thing.
And that's what it is. That is what it is. You know, I wish we can, as a community, just kind of grow out of it. And instead of doing that, we support each other with our businesses, with our ventures, and just the journeys that we might have in place.
Just to follow up to what you're saying, right? When a lot of those things happen, that's the reason why people don't really want to see people succeed genuinely. They don't really, when you start something like we have actually started a podcast right now, people are going to be like, oh, what are they doing? You know, they're not going to see the importance of it. They're not going to like want to support.
They find faults and not the reason why you're doing
exactly.
this.
That's exactly
and even
what it is.
other people's businesses, they don't want to support other people's businesses and all of those stuff.
No,
it's
they
crazy.
don't.
And it's driving our community backwards. You see other communities progressing, like the Chinese,
that's
the
what I was about to
Latinos,
say, the
everybody.
Hmong, the Lao. You see all this. You go to University Avenue in St. Paul, 99% of the businesses are owned by Asian.
True.
Where's our people?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have one African store that's owned by an African man, Mr. Udo, on
Yep.
University
Yep.
Avenue. But guess what?
Which
We
is not
rather-
even Cameroonian.
It's not even Cameroonian,
Yeah.
but we rather go to the Chinese stores to get
Rather-
African
yeah.
food. I understand that it might be a little bit more expensive, but let's support each other
Exactly.
in that venture, because once that cash flow starts coming in, the prices will definitely decline.
Yeah.
But you have to understand, this is a one-man organize or business. Where you go to these Chinese places, it's a group of people.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the money they put in, you have maybe 10 people putting in 25%.
Exactly.
But you have this one man that's putting in 100% in order to run their business,
Yeah.
but yet we're not even supporting
Yeah.
them. Or just as little as let's just post each other
Yeah.
businesses
Yeah.
online.
Support.
We don't do
Yeah.
that.
It's just
We don't do that.
And that is why we created this podcast, so that we can like share
Share-
ideas,
yep.
inspire each other, and
Yes.
grow together.
and talk about this kind of
Exactly.
things.
So guys,
Yeah.
please follow us at 99.9 Problems
Yes.
on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and other social media
Yeah,
platforms.
yeah.
Please.
You guys need to support us, because we as a platform can't
Yeah.
grow without your support.
That's true.
Okay, be it as it may, let's take a deep dive, or
Yes.
let's sway away from this conversation a little bit, because
Okay.
this question I actually want to ask you, some people in the audience might feel uncomfortable with it.
Okay.
So, it is actually said that us coming from Africa, we're religious.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that we're perfect. It doesn't
No.
mean that we're saints and all of that stuff.
Not
we
at
do
all.
we do make mistakes, right?
Yep.
I want to ask you this. Someone made a statement somewhere, which I had to ask you and hear your own perspective.
Yes.
That a whore's final face is a religious girl or a religious lady.
You become an usher.
What do
in
you think
church.
about that? Because they said that in the sense that
all the ushers in church.
they said that in the sense that a lot of
Please.
ladies, for example, right?
Yes.
They move around and get run through or do this here and there, and then when they reach a stage where they want to like take a step back and they realize that they want to like fix themselves, they tend to be religious.
Oh man, I have heard comments like that in the
Yeah.
past, and I say it's true and it's not, right?
Yeah.
Where I have actually witnessed someone going through the same phrase in
Yeah.
life, where it was more of like, I'm 35, I'm too ripe, let me go to the church and find a godly man,
Yeah.
right? Where I have also witnessed someone that has been very godly and religious their entire life, and at a certain point in their life, something major happened, a trauma happened,
Yeah.
and they're just like, no, we thank God for another day. So they start going to church and they start becoming an usher at church, or they start volunteering at church. Sometimes it takes a trauma in order for you to realize that God is really alive, like God is there,
Yeah.
right? Where I think for me, people are like, oh man, she's coming up with a podcast named Faith Uncensored, and they
Yeah.
want to talk about faith and religious
Yeah.
topics. And it's like, yeah, I've been through a lot,
Yeah.
I kept a lot of things in because I already knew I was going to be judged by our Cameroonians people.
Exactly.
I kept talking to a therapist,
Yeah.
but I kept that to myself
So,
because
yeah.
I knew that notion
You were
of
gonna be
shame
judged and shamed. Yeah.
that would come forward with our Cameroonian people.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a social worker at one point that happened to be a family member, told me that they don't believe in mental health. Why are you in that field?
Mental health is
Why
the
are
most
you
important
in that
thing.
field?
No, it really
know?
is.
Why are you
It
in
really
that
is.
field? So you have to ask yourself.
And you're a social worker.
Yes.
Wow.
So I have seen it where some women are like, nope, I'm overly ripe. I need to go to church to find a godly man. And some have just been religious from the get-go.
Get-go,
Yeah.
They just didn't know how to show forward.
Yeah.
And then you have others that went through a death or some traumatic event that happened in life. And they're like, God really did save
Exactly.
me from this. Now let me go and put my testimony at church
A lot
and
of
start
a lot
attending
of
church.
a lot of these things are an eye opener.
Yes.
A lot of things happen to you in life that you see the need to like draw yourself back to God.
Yes.
Because that's like a second chance.
Yes, it is.
A lot of people out here haven't had the
Yeah.
chance, haven't had the opportunity to have a second chance.
That's true.
They just die.
That is true.
But if you're given a second chance like you have actually had right now, to be able to, in fact, guys, Faith Uncensored. You guys gotta follow her on Instagram. Go check her out on YouTube. Check all her pages. Follow her. Support her page.
Yeah.
It's very inspirational. If you have a heart disease, the heart is one of the most important organs in the body. Imagine the doctor tells you yours is failing. How are you gonna feel? So guys, it's inspirational. Yeah,
It is.
that's a second chance.
Yeah.
Faith, I want to thank you so much
Thank you.
for sharing your experience with us.
Now you're calling her Faith.
And he's been doing that from the get.
And
He's
guess
been
what?
doing that from the get-go, though. And I just go with it because
And
I think that's part of.
sometimes when we spoke, sometimes I used to call her Faith, not Laura, because I'm like,
Yes. And
my
I've
bad.
shared that, and
My bad.
everyone's like, Laura, then that should be your new
My
name.
bad.
And I
My
take
bad.
it, right?
Yeah.
I take
My
it.
bad. I mean, but of course, it's I have to call you Faith because
Yeah.
just from what you went through, my heart sank down to my stomach.
Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
it's a God.
Yeah.
That's the power of God right there.
No, I
Yeah.
really do appreciate you guys inviting me. Again, what you guys are doing is amazing. I watch
Thank you.
each and every one of your podcasts
Yeah.
on
We're definitely
YouTube.
gonna do same. We're gonna support.
Yes.
And of course, we are actually gonna collaborate with you a lot of the time.
Yes, that's what I see coming up.
Because we need to pass this message out there. I understand, of course, like we said, we're not saints. Everybody
we're
is not
not.
perfect,
Yeah.
but we need to make or pass the message out there to get everyone to be as religious as possible.
Yes.
I understand we are sinners. We are running
We
short.
are sinners.
We're running short of the glory
We
of God.
live
I'm
under
not
the
preaching
grace
right
of
now,
God.
but
Yes.
but of course we need God in our lives in everything we
Yes.
do. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's
Thank you.
true.
Thank you
guys
so much,
much.
Laura.
Yeah.
I have been blessed listening to you.
Yeah. of course.
And very inspired because sometimes you don't have the opportunity. I think if I would have been in your shoes, I would have been
Yeah.
walking every single day with a dull face.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
seeing you smiling
Smiling,
and
happy and
having
bright
this
and-
cheerful
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
personality is
Yeah.
so inspiring. And we just want to say thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, guys.
And we are looking forward to watching your videos.
Yeah. And we look forward to having you again.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I really
thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much. I know there's so much more we can talk about.
Exactly.
We just pretty much touched the tip of things.
The
Yeah.
iceberg.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, breaking the iceberg. And I look forward to you guys joining what Faith Uncensored
Yeah.
and
Has to
seeing
offer.
what we can do as a organization, and more so
Exactly.
what we can do for our community in this next
Yeah.
few months. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, do not forget to like. Please
Yeah.
drop that comment. Do not forget. Please, please, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook,
Yes.
and other social media platforms at 99.9 Problems. We have very, very interesting topics to talk about and good tea to serve. Let's all come together and create a community where we can share ideas, inspire each other, and grow together. So please subscribe. Thank you.
See you guys on the
Thank
next
you.
one.